class, we've gone through one audition or audio mixing project. Now we're going to do our second one. This is the number 5. This is our hospital spot. So what we've got is this is actually a recording that I got of a guy teaching how to do voiceovers. So he gives some instructions throughout the reading of this spot that we need to take out. So all we have is the spot itself. This is very similar to where if you've got an actor or a voice talent who has made multiple takes and said, oh, let me do that again, you're going to cut those things out. So this is very reminiscent, very likely how you would be cutting together an audio or a radio spot. So let's get started. Here is the folder, the zip file that I downloaded from OneDrive. I'm going to go ahead and unzip it by double clicking it. Here is my folder. Let's open that up. And you can see here is your instruction sheet that includes the script. Here is the voiceover and the music for the beginning and end. So we've got all those ready to go. So let's open up Audition. And if you remember, this is where we have our assets. Here is where we would do some effects things. Here is history. This is where we're going to be doing our work. Here's our VU meter down here. And up here are our tools. So let's start off by importing our assets for doing this project. So I can right click and say import, or I can go up here to file and say import files. So let's make sure we go over and we get to the number 5 lab assets here, folder. So here are our 3 audio files that we want to bring in. So we're going to say okay, and let's open those up. So now we've got those in here. So if you remember, we want to do a multi-track session because we're going to be combining these things together, these 3 tracks. So I'm going to go multi-track. And if you remember, here is where we're going to name our file. So I'm just going to say 2302 audition number 4. And I'm going to say hospital, just so I can kind of keep things straight. I'm going to browse here. Where do I want to record it to save it? And I want to make sure I'm saving it in the same folder that I've got all my other assets. So I'm going to press, going to make sure it's in that 2302 number 5 lab files. And let's say choose. We're done here. So now we have got our sample rate. We want it to be 4,800, if you remember before, 40,000, I'm sorry. And our bit depth at 24, we're going to leave it in stereo. So everything else is good, and we're going to say okay. So now you can see we've got our multi-track window here, just like before. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bring in my voiceover. I'm going to bring it in, put it right at the beginning. I'm going to bring in the script so we can kind of follow along as we listen to our voiceover. So let's go back. I'm going to make sure this is at the beginning. Let me make sure that I have got my script up. I'm going to have to probably press play here.
Out of nowhere, I got this debilitating headache. A little emphasis on debilitating. Next line. I couldn't move. I couldn't see. It was like a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down my entire body. I was having a brain aneurysm.
You got 2 choices there.
Next line. I was immediately rushed into surgery. My family was so frightened. Next line is this. They made me feel like their only patient. Emphasis on the word only. And I just knew they were willing to go above and beyond to fix me. And that's exactly what they did. Next line, final line. And this is the payoff, the money line. They saved my life. No doubt about it.
Okay. So you can see that there are places in here where he is giving direction that we need to cut out. So let's start off by doing that. We don't need the script anymore, because we know where you guys can certainly follow along with the script. But I'm going to listen to this.
Out of nowhere, I got this debilitating headache. Little emphasis. Debilitating headache. Little emphasis on debilitating. Next line.
Okay, so that I need to cut out. So I'm going to bring my playhead here. I do that just so that I remember where I want to do my cutting. So I'm going to go up here to my razor blade tool, which is also a shortcut key of R. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to cut right where my playhead is. Now I'm going to play this.
Emphasis on debilitating. Next line.
And I'm going to go just a little bit before he starts talking again. There's already a pause here. I don't want too big of a pause or create a bigger pause. So I'm going to go ahead and cut here. Now I'm going to go back to my move tool, which is also a shortcut of V. And I'm going to right click in here. And my mouse is not working correctly. There we go. And I'm going to do a ripple delete of selected clips. Now you can see that's cut out. Let's listen.
Headache. I couldn't move. I couldn't see. It was like a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down my entire body. I was having a brain aneurysm. I was having a brain aneurysm.
So there's where we have two choices of what take do we like. I like the first one. You got more emphasis.
I was having a brain aneurysm. I was having a brain aneurysm.
And the second one, to me, it doesn't sound as good. It's your choice. Which one do you like? I like the first take, so I'm going to cut out the second one. And I'm going to go up here to my razor blade tool, do a cut. Now I'm going to play it down.
I was having a brain aneurysm.
You can see there's a long pause.
Next line.
And he's got that next line. So we want to come right here before he starts speaking. I'm going to cut here. I'm going to go back to my move tool, which is also V is the shortcut key. I'm going to right click, do a ripple delete of selected clips. Now let's listen here.
A brain aneurysm. I was immediately rushed into surgery. My family was so frightened. The next line is this.
So you can hear that, that's sounding good. If it wasn't, and let's say that gap was too much, and I wanted to take some gap out of that, or take some of the pause out of there. Let's zoom into this a little bit so we can see it. Let's say I want to take some of the pause out of here. I can certainly, with the move tool, I can hover over until I get this, and I'm going to slide this down. Trim that off, and then just grab that and put it up next to it. So now let's listen.
I was having a brain aneurysm. I was immediately rushed into surgery.
I like that. There's a little bit of a breath there that makes it sound natural. So I'm not going to cut that out. You certainly could cut it out if you wanted to. So I like that that's a better pause there.
My family was so frightened. This next line is this.
So I need to cut out this next line is this. So I'm just going to go here. I like that. I'm going to go in here to my razor blade tool, cut here.
This next line is this.
There's a little bit of a breath there. I'm going to go after that. I'm going to cut there. I'm going to go to my razor blade tool. I've got it, my move tool, and right click. You have to forgive me, my mouse is acting up. Okay, ripple delete selected clips. So now listen, and I always like to listen to my edit after I've done it. I don't want to assume that it sounds good.
Frightened. They made me feel.
See, I like that pause.
So frightened. They made me feel.
Sounds very natural.
Only patient. Emphasis on the word only. And I just.
Okay, emphasis on the word only is not something that we want to keep. So I'm going to go here, go back to my razor blade tool, cut this.
Emphasis on the word only. And I'm
going to go about here and cut here. I'm going to go back to my move tool, right click, ripple delete. Sorry you guys can't see all of that. So the selected clips.
Patient. And I just knew they were willing to, like they're only patient. And I just knew they were willing to go above and beyond to fix me.
So I'm going to scroll down here so we can see the rest of this here.
And that's exactly what they did. Next line, final line. And this is the payoff, the money line.
Okay, so we need to cut out all of this business here. So I'm going to go here. That's a kind of a long pause. So I'm going to go about here. I'm going to go back to my razor blade tool and cut. Now,
next line, final line. And this is the payoff, the money line.
And this is where
they saved
my life. So I'm going to go about here, cut it, go back to my move tool, right click, ripple delete, selected clips. Let's listen to that.
That's exactly what they did. They saved my life. No doubt about it.
Now, I am not worried about the exact time of making this 30 seconds. If you needed to make 30 seconds, you could go in here and cut out some of these pauses and tighten it up. You can see we're right just almost at 34 seconds. So if we zoom, let me zoom back. You can see that there's some pretty big pauses in here. If you wanted to take those out to make it 30 seconds, you certainly can. This is not part of the assignment, is to make this thing exactly 30 seconds. I just need you guys to work on how do you cut things off, make those gaps sound, those edits sound good. All right, so we have got our voice track all cut and ready to go. So now we need to put some music with it. So I've got this down here as music for beginning and ending. And the reason for, if we bring the music for the beginning and listen to it, now it's going to ask me if I want to change the sampling rate and the bit rate to match our multi-track session, and I certainly do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo this track so I only hear the music. I could also go up here and mute the voice track so I don't hear that. And this works really well. I've only got 2 tracks, so it doesn't make much difference. But if you've got a lot of tracks that you want to do, and you want to listen to one instead of muting everything, you can say, "Let me solo that," and now I will only hear this track. And so let's listen to the music. Okay, so this is a little bit melancholy, so that works at the beginning where he's got a headache and he's having a brain aneurysm. But I think the music starts too slow for my liking. This again, I'm being the editor. What makes sense to me? You are the editor. What makes sense to you? How does it work for you, the editor? And so I'm going to trim off. I'm going to go up here and trim off to right before this beat here. So now you can hear that starts off. All right, so I'm going to bring that all the way at the beginning. So now I'm going to listen to the 2 things together. I'm not going to do any kind of a mix yet. I just want to hear the 2 together.
Out of nowhere, I got the...
All right, so my music starts and then he starts. So I want him to delay. I want to hear that beat of music at the beginning before he starts talking.
Out of no...
So what I can do is I look here and go, I maybe wanted him to start talking about here. So I am going to highlight all of these and I'm just going to slide it down. I can slide the whole thing down. So now,
out of nowhere,
I like that. I've got that beat of music and then he starts talking. Now, certainly the music is too loud. So what we can do is, if you remember, we did this before where we adjusted the entire track. I want to show you a different way of doing this. If you also remember, if we just clicked one time on this yellow line, we created a keyframe. Well, I don't want that keyframe. I just hit delete to get rid of it since it was highlighted. I don't want a keyframe, so I'm going to left click on the line and then just bring the entire line down. So I'm going to bring it down to about here.
Out of nowhere, I got this debilitating...
And I'm listening to this.
I couldn't move.
It still sounds a little loud to me, so I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more.
Out of nowhere, I got this debilitating headache. I couldn't move. I couldn't see. Headache. I couldn't move. I couldn't see. It was like a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down my entire body. I was having a brain aneurysm. I was immediately rushed into surgery. My family was so frightened.
Okay, so I'm going to end the music, before he says...
I was immediately rushed into surgery.
He was rushed into surgery. I was immediately rushed into surgery. So I'm going to end the music here, have it be trailing out as it's going here. So what I need to do is trim off all the rest of this. So you can see if you look up here, this is our entire, look how much music I have. So I'm going to go here, highlight this, trim this all the way back to where my playhead is. Now I'm going to zoom back in so I can see my session here. So you can
entire body. I was having a brain aneurysm. I was in.
All right, so if you remember this little box here, I'm going to create a fade out. So I'm going to go here, and if you remember, you can shape the envelope of that fade out by dragging up and down. I'm going to bring it down a little bit here, play it back.
I was having a brain aneurysm. I was immediately rushed into surgery.
Okay, I like that, but I think if you look, and this is the great thing about seeing waveforms, look how this music is getting louder here. See the down here where it's a little lower, this is getting louder. So I want to bring this music down some, but I don't want to affect the beginning. So this is where I'm going to use my keyframes. So I'm going to put a keyframe here. Let's zoom into this so you can see it a little better. So I'm going to put a keyframe about, because this is where it starts getting louder. So I'm going to put a keyframe here. And I'm going to put a keyframe right before this and then drag this down some more. So now let's play it.
It was like a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down my entire...
Well, that's too much. I noticed that. And if you notice it, then people are going to hear your editing. So I'm going to bring this up to where it doesn't drop down as much. I don't want people to hear where I've made an edit. I want this to flow seamlessly.
It was like a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down.
See, and that sounds much more natural. If I needed to, and let's do this, let's have that fade happen a little longer. So I'm just going to grab my keyframe and drag it later. Now, the transition between these two, whoops, and I grabbed the wrong thing. I just did a Command Z for undo. So now let's play.
I couldn't see. It was like a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down.
Now that sounds very natural to me. Okay, so let's zoom back out. So now we've got music at the beginning. We've edited our voice track. We've got music at the beginning. Now let's get this music. Now the music for the end you'll hear is much more upbeat. Now what I want to do is I want to put this on a different track so I can deal with this independently of this track, of the other music track. So I want this certainly to match the bit rate and all. And again, you can see this is a very long piece of music. Now here is something you as an editor should really take into account. Is the beginning of the music good or the end of the music? This is the end of the spot. I want to hear, how does that music end? As opposed to fading during the music, how does that music end to where I can have the music end, when the spot ends? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to listen. Now, as an editor, I look at those and these big beats that are here, and I'm going, hey, I think I can really do something with that. But let's go back to, let's see what the beginning of the music sounds like.
Out of nowhere,
and I'm going to solo this so we just hear the music. Now you can see, it builds up a long time. And if I found a different piece, and let's go down here. Right here isn't bad either. But the important thing is to listen to the music. Where is the best part of the music that would make the most sense for your edit? I'm going to use the very end of this with this big beat and this pause because I think I can do something with it, at the end of this spot. So I'm going to drag this down. I can always, if I've cut too much out, I can always expand it back out. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to drag this down, and now I'm going to zoom back into my spot, and I'm going to zoom in a little further and come down here, and let's look at the end of the spot. Now look at this where he says, and let me solo this.
They saved my life. No doubt about it.
Okay, there's this nice pause here where we've got this nice bit of this beat here, and then this other stuff that can happen after it. So I'm going to move this down, and I moved it to the other track. And again, I just did a Command Z to undo that. So I'm going to go down here to where he gets through saying,
Life.
they saved my life. So about here is where I want this big beat. This is the great thing about being able to see the waveforms, is that I can tell where that big beat is. Now I'm going to take the solo off. Now let's listen.
And that's exactly what they did. They saved my life. No doubt about it.
Okay, I'm liking the way that ends. So I'm going to go. Now I can trim. There's a lot on this. I'm going to trim this down because I'm going to be fading that out. I'm not going to let it fade. I'm going to do a fade out on this. So now, if we're looking at, let me zoom in just a bit more so we can. Okay, so now it's a matter of where do I want this to come in? And these two pieces of music are very different. So I'm not going to try to do a cross dissolve between them. It's going to sound weird, whatnot. I'm going to let a line or two in the middle of this spot be emphasized by no music. So let's listen to, and let me mute this track.
Aneurysm. I was immediately rushed into surgery. My family was so frightened.
All right, so let's start somewhere in here. My family was so frightened. That's where I want to start the music. So I'm going to trim that down. And now let's find a mix of the music.
Frightened. They made me
It's too loud, so I'm just going to click on this and bring it down.
feel like their only patient.
That to me is still too loud, so I'm going to bring it down some
And
more.
I just knew they were willing to go above and beyond to fix.
And to me, that's still a little bit too loud. Again, this is you mixing it. What makes sense to you?
And that's exactly what they did.
Okay, I'm happy with
They
this.
saved my life. No doubt about it.
Okay, so I've got an overall level. I'm going to do some little bit of mixing. I want to emphasize these things at the end. So let's start off by going, let's certainly put our fade in. Just going to do a very straight fade in.
So frightened. They made me feel like their only.
So you can see it kind of fades in and then this beat happens. So I'm liking that. I think that's,
Family was so frightened. They made me feel like their only patient. And I just knew they were willing to go above and beyond to fix me. And that's exactly what they did. They saved my life. No doubt about it.
all right, now, no doubt about it, I would like for this to be a little louder. So let's put some keyframes in as soon as
No
he's,
doubt about it.
so I'm going to go here. I'm going to put a keyframe in. Now I'm going to go right where this music starts. I'm going to put another keyframe in and I'm going to bring it up. I'm not going to bring it up all the way. So let's see what that happens. Again, we want it to sound natural and smooth.
They saved my life. No doubt about it.
Okay, so you can hear that it comes up. That's just coming up too fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this way down here. Because remember, he's through talking on this. So let's see what happens,
And beyond to
making
fix
that a
me.
lot longer.
And that's exactly what they did. They saved my life. No doubt about it.
Okay, I like that. I think that's nice, subtle. It fades up, but I need to put a fade out on this. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to change my envelope. And I'm going to go right about, after that big beat. So let's hear what that sounds like.
Saved my life. No doubt about it.
All right, I'm going to bring this fade out a little quicker or a little sooner.
No doubt about it.
Okay, I am happy with that. One of the good things that, to do is to go back here. We won't do it all, but I suggest you do it, is listen to the spot all the way through.
Out of nowhere,
Make
I
sure
got
all
this
of your edits are
debilitating
happening
headache.
good,
I couldn't
that they
move.
sound
I
good,
couldn't
that your
see.
mix is
It was like
good.
a lightning bolt of pain that completely shut down my entire body. I was having a brain aneurysm. I was immediately rushed into surgery. My family was so frightened. They made me feel like their own
Okay, and we've listened to
patient.
the end of this. So I am very happy with this mix. So we want to export it. So I've got all this. Let's go here and let's save our work. Now I'm going to export this. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, Entire Session. So I want to make sure where it's going. So here is our, the only thing I'm going to do here with the name of it is put my name, my last name, because this is what I'm going to be turning in. I want to make sure it's going to export to the correct folder. So I'm going to put it in the same folder that I've got everything else. So I'm going to say, let me move this up so you can see. So I've got that in the hospital spot. I'm going to hit save. All the rest of these things are good. You don't have to change them. So I'm going to say OK. And again, this is not a terribly complicated project, so it's not going to take very long to export. Boom, it's already done. So let's go ahead and check. And I'm going to go to my desktop where I've got this. Here are the files. Here is where I've got everything saved. And here is my, you can see here is the mix down. This is what I'm going to be submitting to be graded. I need you to submit the WAV file, not the project file. I'm going to be listening to this, seeing how the mix sounds, and and that's what you're going to be graded on. All right, so I've double checked that, and I am good. I have got everything done that I need to get done. All right, so that's everything there is on this file. Remember, if you are having difficulty, you can always stop this tutorial that I'm doing, this walkthrough, go back, look at things, repeat it if you need to. If you are having problems, please contact me. The sooner the better. Don't wait around. Let's get these things done. Because now the next project is really a big audio project that may take you a while. So, and you'll be using all of these tricks that we have learned. And so good luck with this, and we will see you on the next assignment.